Good morning, everybody. What is up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz, your host here at Crimes Untold. I'm sorry, this video is a day late, but I had a sick child yesterday, and yes. If you're new here, I talk about true crime here on this channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn your post notifications on to all. That way you know whenever I upload. I know I look like... If you're listening to this over on Spotify, you can't see what I look like, so apologies. I look like a train wreck. But that's fine because I'm here, I'm me on this channel. You guys keep coming back, listening to me, etc., etc. So, what are we going to be talking about today? The first things we're going to be talking about is that of James Crumbley. So, Mr. Crumbley, the father of Ethan Crumbley, who committed the Oxford High School shootings, has been found guilty. And his trial, I was anticipating how his trial would kind of play out. I did take some notes, like in my notebook, which if you see me looking down, it's because I think I have like, yeah, I have front back of my notebook filled out in regards to him. So why did I take my glasses off? I don't have contacts and I can't see. Anywho, so his trial, a lot of what went down during the proceedings was talking about Ethan's journal, talking about what happened on November 30th, 2021, which is the day of the shootings. There was a video clip of Ethan roaming the halls that day, and it was shown to the jury. This was not shown during his mother's trial, that of Jennifer Crumbley. I did previously talk about her trial as well here on this channel. And then, let's see, move this up here so I'm closer to you guys. Um, yeah, there was a lot about his journal entries talking about how he didn't have anybody to talk to, that he needed help, and his parents not getting him the help that he needed. Then there's a journal entry in which he writes that his dad won't give him access to his gun, so his Sig Sauer 9mm pistol, in which this also differs from Jennifer's trial as well. Jennifer had no problem giving him the gun. It was his father that was the one that wanted to keep it away from him. So Mr. Crumbley went as far as to hide the gun from Ethan so he didn't have access to it. There's also some quotes in his journal that were talked about. Some of them were, and I quote, all of the sources below that I have in regards to this trial, it will show it on there. So you're welcome. So in his journal, one of them said, I have zero help for my mental health problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the fucking school. Another one was, I will have to find where my dad hid my 9mm before I can shoot up that school. First off, I got my gun. It's a SP 2022 Sig Sauer 9mm. Second, the shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and ammo. I'm fully committed this to now. I think when he wrote it pretty quick. And then he continues on saying, so yeah, I'm going to prison for life, and many people have about 1 day left to live. His school counselor was also brought to testify, and this counselor, his name is Sean Hopkins, and he talked about a meeting that he had with the Crumbleys at 10:40 a.m. that day of the shooting, in which he talked about the issues that have multiple times come up in classes in regards to Ethan, and then the piece of paper in math in which has the drawings on it, which showed tons of cause of concern. And he also brought up the fact of how like nonchalant Jennifer Crumbley was, and his dad seemed more like, all right, there's something wrong, I need to help my son type thing, like the look on his face. And also there was something that Hopkins mentioned to like, if they don't help him, he's going to call CPS, which he probably should have already called CPS, but I know he was following school protocol. This is really bad of me to say, but if I was in his position, I would have already called CPS, because Ethan has been talked about, and he's been notified multiple times by Ethan's teachers that something is seriously wrong. So for them not to take responsibility and take care of their son is just really saddening for me to really see, because I devote my life to doing things for my kids. Obviously, I just still do things for myself. I do a podcast. I do this channel. I do a cleaning channel. I do everything. And it's really one of those things where I'm like, it hurts. So James was found guilty on the 4 charges of manslaughter, and his sentencing will happen next month, just like his wife's. So I'm really intrigued to see if he will end up with the same sentence that his wife will, but I don't really know. I don't think he will, because he actually accepted responsibility for what his son did, whereas his wife didn't, and his wife didn't care. All of her dirty laundry was aired out. It was just, all in all, it's really sad, and justice has been
So the next
served.
thing we're going to talk about is these sets of skeletal remains that had been discovered in Wall Township, specifically in or Manasquan Shores. So this is where there was a construction of a new build, or supposed to be a construction of a new build, that a couple had bought the property. So this property actually had a home on it years prior, but it was demolished and then the property was sold. So Bob Early of the Wiley Paving Company said that they were they were excavating so they could put the foundation for the home in, and this is when they made the discovery on Tuesday afternoon at around 2 p.m. The reason why I'm looking down, like I said in my previous clip, is because I'm looking at my notes, and I took quite a lot of them. So basically, this news was released by News 12 of New Jersey, and where it was at the 1100 block of Nerumson Road in this area, and it's 3 possible sets of skeletal remains that have been found. That I found, it's 3 skulls have been confirmed, 2 large and 1 small, and a bunch of bones. This Another thing I read is that when they found a skull and a whole bunch of bones near it, and then obviously they called in. So I did a little further research, and I found that Wall Township does have some active missing persons cases, and I'm thinking about it. And I was just like looking into older cases, and 2 caught my eye. And I don't know why, but something about them kind of like piqued my interest. One of them is that of Jan Coda. She went missing in 1973. She was 19 when she disappeared. And I think the reason why I gravitated towards these 2, they are both younger females, is because of the size of the skulls. The way that I read about them made me think that, hey, it could have been 2 larger skulls, but not definitive ages, and then a smaller skull. So that's why I thought of somebody under the age of 18, somebody with their skull that was still growing, or obviously their skulls aren't growing, but you know what I mean, like could have been younger type thing. And they are that of Charlotte Loomis and then obviously Jan Coda. These are the 2 oldest listed missing persons cold cases for Monmouth County, which is where this Wall Township is, in Monmouth County. These 2 have similar heights and builds, but there's a 5-year age difference. That's why I think I was really thinking about it, because we don't know exactly how old these sets of remains are. There's a lot of other missing persons cases from Monmouth County, so you never know. And I didn't dig into any of the public records that could be for this address, because the exact address hasn't been leaked. But it's one of those things that you try to look into it and then you're caught off guard, because some key details are like, hey, this reminds me of this reminds me of that type situation. So that was the discovery that happened in investigating
So
it
as
at
I
this
wrap
time.
up this video is going to be super short and sweet. I only wanted to cover 3 major things that happened over this previous week because they really are ones that stood out. So that of James Crumbley, obviously the skeletal remains that were found in Wall Township. And the last thing I want to talk about is that of a non-binary teen that died in the ruling, because I know this is all over the internet and a lot of people are really angry with what the medical examiner ruled for this person. So Nex Benedict is a non-binary teenager. They died. Medical examiner ruled their death as suicide. But why? This is what I want to know, is why. Obviously, I have read that the Owasso Police Department believed that this was a suicide. But why would it be a suicide if the day prior they were involved with a fight with three teenagers that identify as females? Because those why would they commit suicide after they stood up for themselves following these girls harassing them for what they're wearing? Why? Nothing makes sense. The only thing I know is that Nex had shallow breathing and their eyes were rolling in the back of their head. This was on the following day after the fight when they were, I believe they were leaving school. They were picked up from school and they were on their way back from school. This is when all this happened with Nex prior to seeking medical attention. Why? Why? I think I'm just confused. I'm not outraged. I'm just really confused. Why would you think that they would commit suicide following standing up for themselves because they were being picked on for what they're wearing? I know equality is a giant thing right now in the world. Everybody wants equality for everything. The equality needs to start with younger generations rather than beating it into older generations. That's my personal opinion. If we still have this happening, this non binary teen was involved in a fight with 3 individuals that were harassing them for what they're wearing due to what they identify as. Shouldn't the Owasso Police Department talk to these 3 females in regards to what happened to Nex? Don't you think so? And what if, so the medical examiner said that this death is due to medicinal toxicity because of combining 2 medications. Were these prescribed medications? Because if so, that's not suicide. They were just taking their medicine that was prescribed to them by a medical professional. So how does that constitute a suicide? Are you going to follow up with the 3 that harassed them? This is what I don't understand, and why I said that equality needs to be instilled in younger generations. I know equality has always been an issue. Always been an issue. But if we don't teach it the correct way or instill those beliefs, that faith in younger generations to agree with equality, it's never going to happen. Things like this is going to continue to happen. Deaths like this are going to continue to happen. More riots, more inequality for celebrating people finally being able to be themselves, no longer hiding in a closet, no longer hiding under a facade for things. How are we, as citizens here in the United States, how are we supposed to be united, as in United States? How are we supposed to be united when everybody's a farce because we don't believe in equality? So, that, my friends, is this week's True Crime Recap. I know that was super beliefy of me,
But I'm tired of seeing things like that, especially when I birth the next generation of beings, the ones that will grow up, that will shape how life is for me in the future, the ones that will continue the legacy in the United States. And how my children are raised are not how children that they go to school with are raised. Things that my children know that are correct and right from wrong, other kids their age don't know that same thing. So it's really hard as a parent now to see things like this and having it seem to be justified. No, there's no justification in ruling a death of a non binary teen as suicide when there was A, no significant circumstances showing that they wanted to commit suicide, B, they were involved in an altercation in which they were being harassed by other people, and C, they had significant health issues that were showing post being picked up from school in which said incident happened the day prior. How do you think one is going to act?